Geekly! This week on Geekly, we discuss our favorite Christmas memories. I'm going to talk about K-pop on Broadway, and we're going to open some presents live on the air. And now your host, Mike and Deglio.
What is up, team? Welcome to K&M Geekly. Just a sneak peek at two geeks talking about some of the things that are getting them through the week. And I am so overjoyed, as always. Overjoyed, maybe an oversell, in fact.
You're appropriately joyed.
I'm appropriately joyed to be joined by my good buddy, Keith Varney, and the ghost of Phil Simms' past. When the Giants were good. Good.
Good. We rarely achieve good, but we did more often than not when Phil Simms was our quarterback.
Keith, how you doing this week, buddy?
We're going to get more into that. I'm doing okay. Been a busy week, but getting ready for the holidays, putting out issues, seeing some shows. It's been fun.
Yeah,
you're opening your show tonight.
I am. If you are in the greater Northeast area of the country, I am opening tonight. We're out of previews of the world premiere of Coal for Your Stocking, Keith, a review of Cole Porter Music's, one of the preeminent American songwriters. That opens tonight, the Act 2 Playhouse. It's been a really good experience, a challenging exercise in doing something a little outside of my wheelhouse with a great group of people who are really charming and funny and some great music and warm vibes. I don't know if I mentioned this on the other show. I think I did. But I'm kind of like rolling solo here at my apartment, so we didn't really do the Christmas tree and the lights and the doodads and the things.
I mean, it looks pretty nice. It seems like you did it up
in my studio, I really did it up. But So I'm not getting the vibes at home, but spending a lot of time at the theater, obviously, and the set is like really nice and it's Christmassy and holiday warmth abound. So it's nice to go to work and kind of get those vibes. So anyway, that opens tonight. You can check that out at act2.org, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, if you're interested.
Go see, if you're in the greater Philadelphia area, you should 100% go see Mike do it.
Yeah, it's something. I'm wearing it is act2.org. Thank God I got that right. And I am wearing one heck of a tuxedo, Keith. It is just, and drinking whiskey on stage. Real nice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. I would do that show.
Yeah, it's only an hour, so you don't quite have time to be hammered, so.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, what are we talking about today, Mike?
Well, Keith, today we're starting the holiday season. The K&M Geekly holiday season begins. First I want to talk about K-pop because you went and saw that, and folks should hear about it before it goes ever so softly into the night. And then we're going to start this year with we're going to start out, and then we're going to zoom in, Keith, and get specific in the following weeks. Right now, I just want to talk Christmas memories. There are hundreds, I'm sure, that we've got, but I said we had to narrow it down to 3, which is a bit of a challenge. So we're going to do that. We're going to take a little exchange doing some storytelling, which is something we love to do. And we're going to just bounce those ideas off. And then, Keith, we're going to start, I think. Where should we? I don't know. You tell me if you think we should front load it or back load it. CEO Jen, my wife from New York, sent us a box marked Fragile.
Oh, mine is not marked Fragile.
Oh, you're just in straight up Amazon. I got a Fragile. Yeah.
Oh, how interesting. No, well, obviously we have to save the unopening of presents to the end.
Yeah, you're right.
That's our grand finale.
You're totally right. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with that. And we're going to ask you guys if you've got your favorite holiday memories, just pop one of them in the chat. Let's have a good old-fashioned community chit-chat. I would appreciate that. And then next week, we're going to force Keith to sift through all of the classic holiday movies of yore and pick his top 5. And I will do the same, and we will have a battle to the death, and we will come to a consensus of the K&M Geekly Christmas or holiday movie of all time. That will be our task next year, Keith. Can we do it? Can we come to a consensus?
I feel the consensus, I think probably unlikely. But I will say at the intersection of holidays and musicals and us, the idea that you and Jen had for a holiday themed musical parody, I actually pitched that to the producers this week. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, that could be interesting." So
I gotta get busy.
I think you better get busy because I think I think we piqued their interest.
We wet a beak. We wet a few beaks.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I just threw it out there.
I've just been waiting long enough to get you interested, Keith. That's what I've been doing.
Oh, I see. So it's not so much that you're just telling me this great idea you have. You're like, write this, and then no.
No. Do you want the honest answer?
Yeah.
I knew from the beginning I couldn't do it without you writing the music. I knew that. I just didn't have the balls to ask you.
Oh, well, you should have done that a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay,
wow,
so
Keith, we've really grown on this podcast. We have found empathy. We've shared secrets and okay, let's get going before I blush.
Well,
Keith.
okay, so
before we can just get married on the air.
That's our series finale.
You got to end with a marriage or a death.
Exactly. Well, it could be both.
Yeah, who knows?
Could be a deathbed marriage.
Mm-hmm.
There's always hope. So I'm going to avoid using using that analogy as my transition into talking about K-pop, the Broadway musical, which I saw on Tuesday night with some friends of mine. And K-pop it's a musical currently playing at Circle in the Square Theater until Sunday on Broadway, and it is a musical about celebrating the art form of K-pop, which is Korean pop music. I'm probably not qualified to make this analogy, but I think it would be the closest analogy would be Korean version of boy band music. And it's boy band, it's girl band, it's very
it's
intricate
hyper-pop
choreography, intricate harmonies, very electronic music, very high energy. It's this entire art form inspired by lots of different things, but specific to Korea. And so this is a musical kind of about that. And Mike asked me, was it a parody? No, it's not a parody at all. It's very much a straightforward celebration of K-pop, and they have it framed in sort of a backstage drama, which gives a little bit of story about how they got there, but there's not really much to it.
Does it like explain what the K-pop, how it exists in Korea in the show, or do you have to go in with? Do you need any sort of pre-knowledge or like?
No, you don't need any pre-knowledge. I mean, it's not like a history of K-pop. K-pop is sort of what it is, right? You see it, that's what it is. There's a little bit of exploration about sort of a behind-the-scenes story about a fictional K-pop star. And what she had to go through to get her success and the incredible, astounding amounts of work you have to do to drill to have that unbelievable amounts of precision doing what you're doing. But really, here the play. They have multiple playbills, so here are two of them.
Okay. I was just looking for one.
Yeah. Well, you should throw up the video while I'm talking, so you can see.
Oh, were we not going to play the audio of that?
No, play the audio. I'll talk over it.
Okay, hold on. Now you're asking for a whole lot, buddy.
Oh, come on. We talked about this anyway. But, really, it's what I enjoyed about it is an excuse to see high-level K-pop up close.
Yeah, you've only really seen it on TV,
You've seen it on TV here and there. And these performances that they had, on Broadway, many of them are actual legitimate K-pop stars, and you have these incredible dancers and singers doing super high level performances on stage there, and it's exhilarating. It's super exciting. The score is great, and the performances are great, and I found it super enjoyable, super great, and you can see sort of. There you go. The incredible choreography and the precision that you see in this type of music. And you listen to the score, it's produced ahead of time. Like there aren't really hardly any live musicians there in the theater.
Right.
But that's the art form. A lot of people are like, whoa, there aren't any live musicians. It's Broadway. Well, yes, but that's not what the art form is.
And it is in English.
It is, yes, it is primarily in English, with some Korean mixed in, which I know some people objected to, but now having seen it, I don't get the objection, because everything
People got to object, Keith, about everything. That's unfortunately where we live right now.
It's like when they're singing or speaking in Korean, the message is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the K-pop lyrics, it's not really about the lyrics. It doesn't really matter. So you can say, oh, they're singing about a boy or they're singing about a whatever. I don't need to, like, who cares if I don't get every syllable of it, because I'm not going to in English either.
Right.
It's about the attitude, the energy, and the virtuosic singing and dancing. And it was and it finishes with like a 15-minute like concert, because the frame is that they're working up towards this concert. Then we get to see the concert, and it's amazing. It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. But here's the sad part about that experience was the show did not do well financially at all. And so
Dude, it's so cool.
It's unbelievably cool. And it's been struggling for a while, and so I was there. So the first act, great, loving it, and then we start the second act, and I can tell immediately, because we were sitting like 2 rows back, that something is going on with the cast.
Interesting.
That this is way more emotionally charged than it should be. The cast is upset or something going on, and because I've done this a lot, and I've seen I've been in some of the casts. I know a lot about it, so I guessed what happened, and that was at intermission the cast found out they were closing.
Wow.
And so this was Tuesday. They're going to close on Sunday.
Wow.
So they literally began their week with the knowledge that this was their last week on Broadway. They will only have played, I think, 17 regular performances after previews.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is worth mentioning quickly that most theatrical contracts are this way, but specifically Broadway contracts, you might sign a year contract initially, 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
Sure. Yeah.
But it is at-will employment. So should the producer decide to close, it's not like you're getting a great severance package. You basically are SOL. Yeah.
That is the end of your contract. Yeah, and that's the thing about Broadway, right? Most shows fail. We talked about it last week, and usually you get some warning. Now, normally in a situation like this, like, all right, so we're going to close in January after the holidays are done. But they were obviously, it wasn't financially viable to keep it open for even that long. And it's really tough. And, half of the audience figured it out as the second act went along. I don't know if people were checking their phones or whatever. So by the end, it was a rock concert, because the cast was incredibly invested and upset, but also like feeling all of the feels, and the audience was behind them. There were standing ovations after the last 3 or 4 numbers, and it was an incredible experience, although it was terribly sad.
Right.
Because you have all these incredibly talented young kids out there who just lost their jobs, their dream jobs. I think there were 18 debuts in this show. And of course it's astoundingly irresponsible that the producers allowed this information to get to their cast during a performance. That's just such a, I'm sure it wasn't on purpose. I'm sure it leaked and it got out and the cast figured it out or something. That wasn't their intention.
Right.
I doubt they made a speech at intermission, but it is still just awful to do to your cast. To put them in that experience of like, oh, your dreams just died. Now go out and give a great second act.
Yeah. Right.
Which was, to be fair, they did.
Yeah, which is like to their credit, right?
Yeah. So it was a great experience. I think there's been some criticism about the quality of the show, this that, the other thing, and it's not like I don't have notes, but the score and the performances were exhilarating. I would happily go back and see it again to hear that score and to see those performances.
There are there are shows that close early or get canceled or were panned or were flops or whatnot that then go on to have a really successful regional and touring, life, and people get a chance to experience them. Then there are shows like this, and this is just my feeling, is that it's so hard to collect the talent necessary to do something like this that you're not going to see a lot of regional theaters pull together a cast of Korean descent, or that can handle this material, or that are skilled enough to do this material. So it's a shame, because in this sense, some shows are really ephemeral, and this feels like one of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully they got a good recording and it can live on on Broadway HD or something like that.
They did a cast recording.
Yeah.
The cast recording's already in the can, and they're fighting to get it shot at least by the New York Public Library, because I think this would do very well. It's a shame they can't professionally film the show and release it, because I think it would do very well on a streaming platform.
That's a conversation we can have for another time. I really believe it's time for the New York Public Library to start digitizing those archives, or making those digitized archives available to the public, because people are bootlegging these shows and they're going on YouTube. And I think we've proven, even with the pro shot ones, the Hamiltons and your Come From Aways, it doesn't cut into the grosses. I mean, tourists are still going to go to New York and still going to see live theater. It doesn't replace the experience.
Well, and I certainly believe, I think there's a way to do that with a statute of limitations.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And say, like, if the show wants it available now, great. If the show says, please don't, then okay, 10 years after the show's closing on Broadway, you can release that, or something like that, which gives the show, by producer to producer, the protections that they want, and yet still giving us access to that archive, both as professionals and as fans. I don't see how that hurts us.
Well, it's not a one-to-one analogy, but it's the best I can muster. I've heard arguments that people say, well, if you want to see the Mona Lisa, you got to get your butt a plane ticket into the Louvre and go see it. And I would, because it's not the same, you don't experience the art as viscerally by looking at like a scan. But if you go on Google Museums, Google has done like the highest of high res scans of the entire Louvre Museum, and many.
It's a different thing. I mean, like, you can see the Mona Lisa. Pull it up on your phone right now. It's the same thing. It is a representation, an approximation. It gives you an idea of what it was. Nothing can ever replicate a live performance.
But and not to dive into a political conversation, but it's often the same argument against liberal policies, or I should say, you can't give poor people money because then people are going to fake being poor or hoard the money. There will always be people that use the system, that manipulate the system, but it's really a small percentage of people. If you make these available, it's a small percentage of people who are going to rip them and start selling them, and it's not.
And I think the only thing I would be concerned about with that is compensating the artists.
Okay, that's a conversation. That's a conversation.
So that, all right. So make this either make it free and available to everybody, or I think better, charge a Netflix service to the New York Public Library, and they split that licensing, go to the performers and creatives. Half of it goes to the public library so they can afford to keep filming stuff, and that way everybody wins a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because right now the solution is, I'm happy to share it. People bootleg these shows. And but there's a code word on YouTube, and I believe now they're called slime tutorials. I have no idea the origin of that. But so if I want to see K-pop slime tutorial, you probably can find it. I'm not going to Google it now.
No, and it's bad because the quality of it doesn't represent anybody well. Doesn't represent anything well. And and speaking, without naming a show or a producer, speaking to a Broadway producer recently and talking about how their shows bootleg. There's like a bootleg of one of the major numbers from the show, and they were struggling to sell tickets, and they saw that bootleg of that number was getting a lot of traction on YouTube. And so they were like, yeah, we're going to take this down, but really slowly, because this is actually helping us. So
Well, and
it's
there's the flip
complicated.
too, right? I mean, it's a new era. Like, what was Joe's last musical? It was
Joy Connors?
yeah.
Be more chill.
Be More Chill. I mean, that started because he was getting a bajillion streams of the original cast recording on. He front loaded it, right? He started streaming it first, and he kind of marketed it in
sure
reverse.
did.
Which, so it's a whole new universe, and I think we need to catch up. Is basically the long and short of it.
Yeah.
But K-pop, you enjoyed your time, is what you're saying.
I 100% enjoyed K-pop. And it is I'm bummed that it was not more successful than it was. Yeah, so there it is. And I'm partial to Korea. I've been there. I love Korea. I love Korean people. So anyway, let's
you heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. Keith likes Korean people. He is an ambassador of the K&M Geekly empire across the globe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, Mike, let's talk about. Wait, hold on. You're hosting. What am I? Why do I
It's
just naturally
just
start
Keith.
doing
People
stuff?
just because it's what we know. It's what we do.
We're 400 episodes in.
We're gonna talk a little Christmas. Let's do it. I'm gonna let you start, Keith, because you've got pictures and I don't. So
Okay. Well, I'm going to be real quick about this first one because I've already told this story before. We're talking about our top three.
All of these.
favorite,
We're telling these stories again, but we have a new audience, so let's.
Our top 3 favorite Christmas memories, and mine always starts. 'Tis a gift to give gifts, but if you're 11 or 12, it's a gift to receive gifts.
Yeah, man.
And the greatest gift I have ever received in my life is what is in that picture the day I received it, and right behind me now, 30 years later, my Phil Simms away jersey. This was. My parents got it for me. I gave them incredibly specific instructions about what I wanted. This is a very high quality replica jersey at the time. Probably cost 150 some odd bucks at the time, which is a huge amount of money. In order to get the names on the back, you had to pay $1.50 for each letter on the back because they just didn't sell them. This is before jerseys were sold the way they are today. So this had to be custom ordered. Here it is. I still have it 30 years later. It was my pride, still is my pride and joy. And wore it to school for 7th grade.
Still wears it
every day. If I could still fit into it, I absolutely would.
Do you have another one? I've seen you in Phil Simms jerseys before.
Oh, I have many.
What a question! Why would I even ask that?
What a stupid question. So anyway, so this was just one of those ones that just made me happy. It still does. Forever and ever, Phil Simms forever.
That's beautiful, Keith. Everybody knows their favorite present. I'll get to mine shortly. My first story is the reverse. I'm going to start with. It's
somebody took away your Phil Simms jersey?
Yeah,
that's so sad.
No, it was my favorite gift giving experience. Not conventionally either. So if for some reason you're listening with your kids who are under, let's say, 12, maybe
are you gonna talk about giving chlamydia to somebody,
Keith? This is a family friendly episode, so you might want to earmuffs your under 12s if they're listening. So,
oh no,
I was in maybe 2nd grade, 3rd grade, an early grade. Maybe I don't know. I was too young. It was before Let me start here. I love magic. Always loved magic. The idea of it, the expression of it. I liked Houdini. To this day, I like things I can't do because they look like magic. So Santa, the idea of Christmas was like everything, man. I just couldn't wait. I was the kid who would listen at night to see if I could hear the footsteps, or if I could see the sprinkling magic dust coming through the windows. So at school one day, there was this girl. I guess I should change her name, but
that's how they always start.
I'm going to just say this because this isn't a joke. Her last name was Butts, Butts, right? And I'm glad because it defines. So I guess she had heard rumblings that Santa was not a real creature.
No,
right? Was not a magical being. Keith was BS, in fact, and started saying this in school, and it was like blasphemy. I was like, who this be? Even as a kid, So I go home, right? And I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, so-and-so, Ms. Butts said
The Lady Butts.
the Lady Butts said there's no Santa. And my mom, in her just like exasperated, overworked Italian mom way, went, and just like didn't even like try to like soften the blow. She just was like, took the opportunity. She's like, well, let's also avoid a conversation like 5 years down the road. Oh, that's sure. Right. And it just left me absolutely destroyed.
Oh, no.
I was like, what the? I couldn't believe it.
How are you going to turn this from a traumatic, horrible experience to a good one, Mike?
I'm going to tell you, Keith. So I am a middle child. All I could think in that moment, and this I think maybe speaks to me deep down somewhere being actually a really, maybe a good person, at least a good brother, because all I could think was, I cannot let my sister discover this, because no. So what I did, and this, I guess I also was quite a manipulator. Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy in the whole Christmas thing, but that's not today.
There's a lot to be said about the holiday, yes.
So my sister and I we went to the Santa, sit on Santa's lap thing, get a picture at the mall, and then we were like, hey, we have an idea. Let's pick a present that's like a small thing, but let's not tell mom and dad. Let's only tell Santa. That way, we'll know.
That's the proof,
right?
obviously.
It's a scientific method.
Right.
So I urged her to pick something very easy to acquire.
And very cheap.
Yes. So what it was, and she was 3 years younger than me, so it was pretty easy to like direct her. And so we decided do you remember at the old, coming out of the grocery stores, you had those like get a quarter, put it in, and then get candy or like a little thing in like a plastic bubble?
Little football helmets. That's what I collected.
So we went up to one of the ones while my mom was shopping, and I was like, pick a specific one. Like, we have to be real specific. So she picked a little elephant, like eraser bobblehead thing. You put it on your eraser and it like bobbled. And so I was like, great. So I got a quarter and I put it in, and I realized that, uh-oh.
Uh-oh, indeed.
So, Keith, for the next like 6 months, I collected quarters and quarters and quarters and quarters and quarters and quarters. And I had my dad bring me over to the Gennardi's, which was the supermarket, and I just cranked and cranked and cranked and cranked and cranked until I got the elephant bobble. I popped it in her stocking the night before. Christmas Day, when she got that elephant, she's like, Mike! And we celebrated and celebrated. Now, in my heart, I knew that it was all smoke and mirrors and lies. But I will say this. I saved Christmas for my sister. I saved the magic for at least another 3-4 years. So that's story number one. Wow,
that is a beautiful story. You should write that into something.
We write the music.
I'm slamming quarters. Oh,
it's that K-pop.
Outside the Krogers.
We're the only people laughing.
Feels the magic.
We're the only people laughing.
Micah Claus. Wow.
All right, Keith, what do you got for me?
Wow. Yeah, I don't have anything near so beautiful and heartrending. But
you got ping pong.
I do have ping pong, and this isn't quite exactly the right picture, but it's the right location, because the other two that I'm going to talk about are going to be experiences had as a family, which of course, once you're after a certain age, that's really what it's all about. And so here, this is in the top floor of our barn, out at my parents' house, and so up there, it's a big open space. We have the ping pong table and there's a fireplace or whatever. And so one year, about this time, it's like probably 2004, 2005, something in that era. My father has this crazy idea for the family activity, and he buys yards of little PVC pipe. There's a little plastic PVC pipe, and made pea shooters, right? And made
like little potato guns kind of things.
No, well, we did do the potato gun. These are like smaller, like the diameter of a pen, or a little bit more like that. And he made like 20 of them. And we were all get up there. It was after after opened presents. We were all toasty.
Yeah.
And
How old are we? How old are we?
I'm in my mid-20s at this point.
Okay.
But we had my cousin Jess, who's a little bit younger, and we had we had a couple of kids there, but it was mostly a bunch of older people, adults. And so he hands everybody one of these pea shooters, and then takes out like 6 bags of mini marshmallows.
Oh.
And for whatever, the diameter was exactly right, so you could shoot these mini marshmallows with these pea shooters like 30 feet at velocity, like all over the place. And then it's just descended into abject chaos of all of these drunkish adults and a couple of kids who were losing their minds, plus the dog who was having a great time, just shooting marshmallows in rapid fire around this room like absolute jackals. And it was absolute chaos, and exactly this type of like fun that I really enjoy. And my favorite moment was I was able to get one into my cousin Jess's mouth.
Ooh,
yeah,
delightful.
It was gross and hilarious.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it was the type of chaos that I enjoy a little bit of mischief chaos, and my father does too.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, that ping pong reminds me. This isn't. It just reminds me of a lot of Christmas Eves. We would go over my brother's house before any of us were married and stuff, and we would just play ping pong and get drunk and hang out. It was like that period of time where you're not quite a full adult, but you're not a kid anymore, and you're transitioning that relationship. There. You're transitioning that relationship with your parents from like under their rule to and just a lot of great times.
Do we ever leave that point?
Well, yeah. Yes, you do. But in fact, though, I want to use my second memory as actually the transition point. So being married now and not having kids, we are generally around the holidays at the whim of other people with kids, right?
Right.
Other people feel and understandably, I'm not complaining that we have to sort of cater to. They've got kids, right? So there's a much more specific timetable around the holidays, and where are you going to go? And when I lived away, and even now that I live closer to my family, it's a challenge because there are internal beefs between people or plans that overlap, and it's going to ruffle feathers over here, and you don't want to hear, and people what you choose to do could incite someone to be pissed off or what, and so it's just like stressful. It's just stressful.
Minefield.
Yeah. And so at some point, my wife and I and a friend of ours decided that we needed to break the mold, right? Because then it's also, if you're married or you're in a relationship or something, are we spending time with your family? Or are we going to go over there and family? And if those families aren't close, you can't do both, and it's just a thing. So, like, we're going to do our own thing. And so we decided to go to Florida on Christmas. We took a vacation. We're not spending time with anybody's family. We're going on vacation. And we went to Harry Potter World on Christmas Eve, and there was nobody there.
Really? I mean, proportionally.
Yes, proportionally. So we got on all the things, and we had a great time. And so that was a way for us to set a precedent that we're not always going to be available, that we can do our own thing and be our own family. And then last year, on Christmas morning, instead of going to someone's house to do it, we just stayed at our house and did our own little thing here. And we'll try to do that again this year because Jen has to work 2 shows on Christmas, so it's a whole different year. But that memory of when you're able to start establishing your own sort of traditions or autonomy, holiday autonomy, which is important. So that's I remember that Christmas at Harry Potter World as the beginning of that. I'd like to go on vacation again around this time. It's a great time to go on vacation.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, let's talk memory 3, Keith.
Okay, memory 3. It's very simple, and that is playing ice hockey on my parents' pond. My parents built a pond, believe in 1989, partially specifically so that we could play hockey. We're a hockey family. We all play. We all love it. We all love the game, and so we play on the pond when weather permits. But whenever we could. It's always been a big part of our family tradition. And at various times, we've had different levels of seriousness about it. We once had boards up behind the nets. Sometimes it's more casual than that. A lot of it is very weather dependent because it's outdoors. But we resurface the ice. So my father has a submersible pump and a fire hose, and so we cut a hole in the ice, and then we flood it. We reflood the ice with water, and it takes a couple hours, and then we have resurfaced ice. And it's really, really fun. We've had lights up so we can play at night at times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big surface. It's not full. It's not like a regulation rink, but it's 120 by.
How do you like
90.
section off the space, the safe space?
What's a safe space?
I mean, like I see. I don't ice skate, and like the whole idea of it kind of frightens me. So, but like you don't want to go. Are there some spots that it's dangerous? So you could like fall through or something? Is that how it works?
No. You're not good. If there were parts where if you skated over it, you'd fall through, that wouldn't be safe to play on.
That's what I said. Do you have to like put cones up or something?
No. It has to be, the whole thing has to be, well, most of the time, the rule is the whole thing has to be, we did put a Ford Bronco through the ice once.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Plowing the ice.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
That was a holiday memory.
It was pretty funny. I mean, the rule of thumb is if the ice is 4 inches thick, it's safe to skate on. And so, we have a drill. We'll go test down, see how thick it is. And then, if it's thick, you go out and skate.
Is it like you play with you guys full check? What's the rule set?
No, not full check. Well, it depends on how much snow there is. If there's a snowbank, you can definitely throw each other into snowbanks. But we don't play. We rarely play with full pads.
Any injuries? What's the injury scenario?
We haven't had a lot of, bumps and bruises and all that kind of stuff. I did a couple of years ago. I really messed up my elbow, but it wasn't playing hockey. It was filming. Filming my dad spinning somebody on a tube using a 4-wheeler, and I was skating along the ice trying to film it, going super fast, and then hit a bad patch of ice, and then just murdered my elbow. So that was it's on Instagram. It's on my Instagram. If you follow me, it's on there somewhere. You can actually watch me. You can hear the fall, and then. Which was definitely an understatement for what I was feeling.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, it is really, really fun.
I'll do that later.
Pond hockey is some of the most fun hockey you'll ever have. And we have the whole extended family come
that's
out
cool.
and play. So we have 3 or 4 generations at a time out there playing at various levels of ability. It doesn't, my younger brother, was like borderline professional, so he's kind of unfair to play against, but the rest of us try to keep up, and some people can't skate. Doesn't matter. It's all fun.
That's cool, man. I wish I could
play.
You
gotta come up sometime. You and Jen need to come up and
sure.
play some ice hockey.
No, we're not going to. I will sit there and gladly watch, but...
You will not. I will shame you, sir.
I can't ice skate. What am I going to do?
We'll teach you how to ice skate.
Oh, great. That's really going to put me at a competitive advantage.
Well, I'm not saying you're going to win.
No, I'm pretty confident.
The purpose is not to win at pond hockey.
That's fair.
I mean, we're a pretty competitive family.
Yeah,
but we
I've
do
met
know
you.
How to
I've played Madden with you. Not competitive is not how I would describe it.
Yeah, I'm competitive.
Jen is too, so that's funny.
That's why Jen and I get along so well.
It's true. All right, so my last one. So I've been a guitar player for quite a while. I've definitely told this story before, but I will share it again for those who are new to our stuff. So. I guess I was maybe like 14 or 15 years old, and I had been playing, I had a decent acoustic guitar. It was a Washburn that I was fond of, but I didn't have a good electric guitar. My first electric guitar I bought was a BC Rich, which was like basically a Costco brand type of guitar, which is fine.
Kirkland brand guitar?
Yeah, it was fine. But I had started playing in a band, and shockingly, we were pretty good, and we were like getting gigs. Like we started gigging when I was 14 years old, which is crazy. And so I was like,
B6 Mafia 36 Underground
Space 8
Machine?
Mafia, yeah.
There it is. I knew, I was so close.
That name took a while to get. That was more when we got into high school. But I played with the same group of guys all the way through high school. Anyway, so I had been dropping hints to my dad that sort of wanted a new guitar. Like, we should just like go look, Dad. Wouldn't be fun or whatever. And so one Saturday, he was home and he was like, "Hey, why don't you? Let's go take a drive." So we're driving around. And we stop at Sam Ash, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, man, here we go, right? And now I'm kid brain, right? So I'm feeling like I have to sell my dad on this. Like, I have to convince him, right? Because shit's not cheap, and he wasn't like a just flash in the cash kind of guy. So we go in, and the other thing is, I had spent a lot of time at that Sam Ash. But the thing is as a musician, if you don't know, you can go into a Sam Ash or a Guitar Center and like take guitars off the wall and play them and play the drums and do the different music stuff. But when you're 13, 14, the staff is instructed to not really encourage you to do that kind of stuff because they don't want you to be annoying, which the older I get, I understand, right? They can only listen to Green Day and Freebird so many times. So, but when you're with a parent and they sniff some fish on the hook,
something actually might get purchased.
I got to play every instrument. They were pulling stuff off the wall and plugging me in and jacking the volume. And then my dad would take a guitar and play the national anthem because that's all he could play. He could play the Star Spangled Banner on the top E string with one finger. That's what my dad could do. And then he'd have me play something, and I would fiddle around, and then we'd play something else, and he would jam out. We were laughing. And my dad, he was sort of like a Dr. Jekyll. I mean, if he were alive today, I imagine he was bipolar as hell because his mood would shift rapidly, right? And he was also busy and he overworked. So, but he was in a great mood, and we were playing, and we were laughing, and there was this like an Ibanez, this blue pearl Ibanez, this shiny blue pearl Ibanez. I can remember how it smells still. And I just fell in love with it. And it had tuning locks on it. And it was just like a guitar that was too expensive for me, way above the level of play that I had. It just was not for me. But I just fell in love with it. The look of it, the feel of it, everything about it. It would not be my favorite guitar of all time. That would be a Les Paul. That's a different story. But this time, and then, we left. And I felt at the time, because I was a child, that I had failed. I did not sell the purchase. And it was ridiculous of me to even expect my dad to buy me a freaking, $1,200 guitar or whatever it was. And then afterwards we went to brunch at this diner, just me and him, and we chitted and we chatted, and we had a day. We had a whole day, dude, which was time with my dad was of a premium. Yeah. So, to level with our audience, the end of this story, the end of this Christmas story, is that we open presents that year, and I don't see the guitar. And then as we're having dinner that night, my dad goes, "Oh, what's behind the couch?" And yeah, I got the guitar. But that's not the ending of the story now. The ending of the story is that it took until I was in my 40s to realize that the guitar was never the gift, right? Yeah. And as cheesy as it might seem, that day was the gift. And I think he even knew that. I think he knew it. And and this is a therapy thing, but I feel almost embarrassed that he even felt the need that he had to buy it. You know what I mean? Because my dad didn't know how to express his emotions, and I feel like he felt like he had to show me by buying it. And I appreciate it, and I loved it, and I and all that, and we could pick it apart. But I wish he could know now that I didn't need it, and that I realize it now. That day is what I remember. I remember the day now. And
I think that there's room for both. Something to be said for both, because that gift is one of those eternal gifts which continually changes.
Yeah.
Right? Because I bet 14-year-old you did need the guitar. Otherwise, it would have felt like some sort of a tease. It would have felt like some sort of a bait and switch. And whether he knew or whether he didn't know, that 40-year-old you would look at it differently. I think both of those are valid. I think both of those are important, because the meaning of things change. The meaning of an object can change. The meaning of a memory can change and can grow and develop. And certainly, like, that day with him is much more important because you didn't have as many as you hoped.
Right. Yeah.
And you didn't know that at the time. And he didn't know that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that the meaning of that time itself has changed and magnified over the years.
Yeah. I ended up years later. We together traded that guitar in and bought a Les Paul, which I freaking sold when I moved to New York City because I had no goddamn money. But then I had bought it. I rebought it just last year. I bought it back. Not the exact one, but I bought. And I had to convince my wife. I was like, it's a symbol. I probably will never play it. It hangs on my wall. I don't play electric guitar. Not like I barely get a chance to play electric guitar. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the things that age has done for me, at least, is valuing symbolism way more than I used to. Like, that value, and whether it doesn't have to be an object, right? It can be any number of different things that have symbolic meaning that are important to me in a way that when I was 15 or even 25, right? Like, well, I use that or I don't use that. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those your stories were much more meaningful than mine.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I it's just what it is. All right, hold on. I'm real quick trying to finagle a toy cam for this next little bit here.
Oh, you're gonna toy cam it? Okay,
I don't
cool.
really have what I need, but we're gonna just do it this way. Let me see if I can pull this in real quick. Talk for a second, Keith.
Okay.
Maybe you know what you can do.
What's that?
Let's talk about these fine folks.
Indeed, I can thank our patrons. Speaking of things that we are both symbolically and practically grateful for, our patrons who you can find on patreon.com/K&M and get all sorts of fun bonus materials. We owe you an AMA. That should be fun. Plus, we have bonus episodes. We're going to do a play along of a video game for you guys to all enjoy.
Yeah.
We have, you can read my spec Star Trek script. That's kind of fun. And lots of other fun bonuses. Plus, we're there chatting with you. And you can join Brian Kaufman, Casey Clark, Cloud Lover 69, Jason Moe, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and the mysterious Wharfs Boat Shivs, CRM Productions, Charles Babbage, Grim Toys, Delusions at Noon, and Eric Wilson. And I'm very excited to open Jen's present here with you, Mike. Although I do have a...
yeah, that's not going to work, unfortunately. I don't know why.
I had a thought.
Okay.
And that is, Jen specifically said we should open it together, but not necessarily on camera. So who knows what excitement will happen here. There we are. So we can see it all together. What's in the box?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait, don't show me yet. I have a box in a box.
Oh, you got a fragile. Keith, it's totally not a pint glass.
I did. There it is. Open it. Yes! Quarks bar!
That's cool, dude.
That's fantastic. Oh, hell yeah. We see, now that's a good excuse to get together and fill these up.
Yeah, man, for sure. We should get together pretty soon.
Yes, we definitely should. Oh, thanks, Jen.
Yeah, that's rad. That's so awesome.
She's so thoughtful. She's like such a nicer person than either one of us.
Oh, yeah. That's
neither one of us deserve her.
Actually, you know what? Forget coming to see me in Ambler. If you're in the Northeast, you should go see Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. 3 more weeks at New World Stages. My wife's a star for a few more weeks. I mean, she's always a star, but she's just professionally a star right now.
It's a fantastic production.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful.
Another beautiful production full of fantastic performances and great reviews.
That's that's actually a good point. If you are thinking about like a unique gift to get somebody, as Keith mentioned earlier, events are doing things, experiences. They last, as you heard from our stories, they last a lot longer. So get somebody tickets to something, maybe something you think they won't even enjoy. Like do you have a friend you're like has never been to the symphony? Or, go to the symphony. Take somebody to see an opera or a ballet. Take yourself to see a ballet. Do you think you hate ballet because the one you saw in 6th grade, you were bored? Guess what? Your tastes change. I used to hate opera, but now I love listening to opera because I just didn't get it at the time.
Well, it's also, and like you said, live.
Yeah.
It is, speaking of someone who I know all of those worlds, and it is completely different live. An opera live, a symphony live, the sound and the experience is completely different. So go have an experience. You know what? You went to Fiddler last time and you would never think of going to K-pop? Go to K-pop.
Yeah.
Go see a show of a
live
genre
theater needs
you're not
you right
familiar
now.
with.
Live theater needs you right now.
Yeah, it sure does.
Of course, COVID, so wear a mask. But
wear a mask, 100%.
I gotta say, I was so heartened. We did a whole week of previews this week, and there's no mask policy at the theater, but I would say 95% of the audience has come masked, which is really, really cool.
Well, I mean, look, we are definitely having another resurgence of COVID. Plus, we all have family members that we're hoping to see, or many people, if you're celebrating, or even if you're not celebrating any of these holidays, you probably want to see your family members. Some of them are immunocompromised. Mine are.
I also just don't want to get sick with anything, so I wear my mask a lot.
There's that too, and I won't say what show it is, just for fear of I don't know how much they want. What's that?
You said, I would say a little birdie has told you that.
A little birdie has told me a high-profile Broadway show that is opening within this week. A dear friend of mine is the resident director of that show, basically responsible for putting people into the show, understudies and swings, that kind of stuff. And yesterday, arrived at the theater to find out that 6 of their cast members have COVID, including one of the leads. You say, oh, that's that. They have swings, they have understudies, whatever. Yeah, well, guess what? They're still in previews, which means most of them have not had a chance to have a put-in or learn anything. Also, that's the night the New York Times was coming to review.
That's the thing. So it's not that they're not capable. Even under those circumstances, generally swings and understudies are capable, but it's like that's what the review is going to be about.
An absolute chaos, and and look, especially in previews on Broadway, the understudies and swings are unbelievably talented and unbelievably good. They also might be unbelievably unrehearsed, coming up early in previews. The show that Jillian did, the 3rd preview of her show, Tyne Daly was out sick. And so Tyne's cover had to go on with 30 minutes warning, having had 0 rehearsal.
Jeez.
She had never had a rehearsal. The standbys and the understudies during rehearsals and previews on Broadway frequently aren't even there at the rehearsals. And so, you learn the lines, you do what you can, you watch as much as you can from afar, but there might not even be time for a put-in, let alone a chance to rehearse with the cast. And I was there. Gina Farrell is her name. Killed it. I was like astounded. She just like, all right, went on their Broadway stage, 3rd preview, no rehearsals, barely even had a costume. Flawless. Astounding.
It's insane what they can do.
It's insane. And I'm glad I'm not one of them, because I'm nervous just thinking about it like 5 years ago. So there you go.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us for episode 1 of our I guess 2 more, I don't know, our countdown to the holidays. We appreciate you as part of our family. So share in the comments if you have anything fun you've been geeking on, or fun holiday memories you'd like to mention. It was really heartening to read a lot of your Thanksgiving wishes to us and to your loved ones, and that was really special. So keep them coming. Like you said, it's a small audience for this show, but you know what? It's ours, and we love you, and we appreciate you coming in. If you like what we are serving, give a like, give a subscribe, check out our other shows. I won't belabor the point, so I'm going to put our hands up, and I'm going to say, listen, as geeks, I think often people give us a lot of crap, but I say this: love the things that you find fun. Don't let anyone yuck your yum, and keep on geeking on.